Okay guys, in this video, I'm actually getting some teeth here, so I apologize. In this video, I want to talk about Skyrim. I want to talk about Serena. Hopefully I'm saying her name right. The vampire chick that everybody wants to marry. I want to talk about why you should never marry her and why this should not be modded, okay? Um, Clearly, the developers intended her not to be marryable for a reason. And I'm going to make this short and sweet and right to the point, okay? Very short. And that reason is because she's in pursuit of her humanity. That's what this is about. She was a victim when you really think about it, and it was against her own free will that she became a vampire in the first place. She actually hates it, and she doesn't want to be like that. And if you get to the end of the game, I don't know if I can say this without spoiling it, but if you get to the end of the game, you shouldn't be a vampire. She shouldn't be a vampire. And you realize that when you cure her of her vampirism, that all along she's been in pursuit of her humanity. And when she talks about herself and how much she changed, she actually feels more alive being human. And all throughout all the different quests that you do with her while she's a vampire, that's what she talks about, is humanity. What is it like to be like this? What's it like to be like that, right? So she never was meant to be marryable because she's not looking for marriage. She's seeking her humanity. And that's really what the story of Serena is all about. So if you go and install mods because you want to marry her, because you're lusting after her, which by the way it goes against the Bible, um, then you're totally breaking the role play of this character and what this character was intended to be, which is someone who's struggling between being a vampire and being a human being. And they have this internal turmoil going on, almost to the point of torment when you really think about it. It's like she's got this eternal torment going on, almost like she wants to die, but yet live, if you know what I'm saying. So that by the time that you're done the campaign with her, the Dawnguard DLC, you come, and this is a realization you should come to. I see a lot of YouTubers talking about this, and I think they're wrong. You should come to the realization that you're not the last Lord. Small L, because there's only one Lord, and that's Jesus. Okay, but you're not the last one. Okay, because what you should have done was cured yourself of the vampirism, and cured her too, because she's in pursuit of humanity. She doesn't want to be immortal. She wants to die. She wants to live a normal life. Okay? She cannot be focused on love. She can't be focused on pursuing trivial things that we do, such as being boyfriend and girlfriend and this kind of, and it is trivial because honestly, at the end of the day, where do you end up? You sleep alone. That's the truth. Okay? Everybody's getting divorced because no one listens to God. That's the truth too. If you listen to God, you'd stay married. Um, so she's in pursuit of her humanity, right? Is what's going on here. And then when she does become human, when you go back to her after she leaves for a while, that piece of dialogue there is so intense that you almost, well, I actually did when I did this the first time. I actually felt sorry for her. I really sympathized and empathized with her, you know, and who she's supposed to be in terms of actual role play. The right thing here is to cure her, okay, and not for you to ask her to turn you back into a vampire. She wants to be human. She wants to experience life as human. And this is the part I think everyone is missing. And everyone goes, I want to marry her, I want to marry her, I want to marry her. So then they mod it and they break the game completely. This is why I'm against modding altogether, okay? Alright? It's because you're breaking the immersion of the game itself, literally. I don't care about the graphics. The graphics are what they are, and that's part of the beauty of the game, you know? Imagine if everything had realistic graphics. Would you actually appreciate your older games? Probably not. You know, when you take the core element of a game and you change it, that ruins it. Look at the remake of Oblivion versus the original Oblivion. Visually, right off the bat, you're just like, what's going on here? You know? And then you get into body types, and then, you know, you get into wanting to do a fist build, and you can't because you don't damage their stamina. Okay, so there's a lot of things that they changed in that thing. Like they completely overhauled it, except for the story. Okay, which completely breaks the immersion. There's no eye-popping graphics of beauty around you. It's all dark, you know. It's terrible. And that's what I'm trying to get at. You know, games, when it comes to role-playing, were designed a certain way. And they should stay that way. Modding or coming up with these remakes is what ruins it. Because then you change the whole dynamics of the game. So in the end, because we're talking about Serena, I wanted to throw in a little bit of Oblivion too. You know, that's why I didn't like the remake to begin with. They call it a remaster, but it's not. It's a complete remake because they completely overhauled it except for the story. Everything else changed. The UI changed. Everything changed. Okay? And not for the better, you know. So when we look at the character, Serena, we understand that she doesn't want to be a vampire. She wants to be human. She wants to die. And she wants to have a real life. And she says this beautiful scene at the end where she feels like she can breathe, you know, and it's just gorgeous. Why do you want to ruin a real amazing part of storytelling with an incredible backstory to this character by forcing her to marry you through a mod? You obviously don't get what she's about, you know. And that's why I'm against modding, because now you change the whole dynamics of the whole thing. And that empathy and sympathy I have for that character I no longer have because I can just turn her into, pardon my language, but my bitch. That's not good. You know, we need to realize that visually or otherwise, you should never mod these games because in doing so, you change the dynamic of it completely. And you know, these whole remakes that are coming out and remasters, and we've seen a lot of them this generation of gaming, should never have happened. We saw it last generation too, by the way. You know, PS4 and this generation, right? And that's the problem. Because then you change the dynamics of the game or the character in this case, right? So that's why Serena should never be modded. That's why you should never marry her. And the true ending to it really is you being human and her being human. Okay? That's the true ending. Because she's in pursuit of her humanity. She's not in pursuit of trivial things like dating and courting and getting married and having kids. She's actually really trying to go in pursuit of her own soul when you really think about it. You know? She doesn't die. She's immortal. And after a while, you gotta admit, that's going to be boring. I mean, there's got to be a point in your life at some point you go, you know what, I'm good. It's time for me to die. And you understand that that's her mentality. That's where she's at. She's in pursuit of humanity. She wants to be human. She doesn't want to be immortal. which is interesting because we're coming up to this in real life with transhumanism. That by 2030 they're going to make it so you're immortal. And you think this is going to be a great thing? Now I could speak about this biblically, but I'll speak outside of it biblically, non-biblically for a second. Look at Serena. That's going to be you. Look at movies like Interview with a Vampire, right? These vampires actually want to go back to being human because they're bored. They've seen it all. They've done it all. There's nothing left to do. They want to die. But as a human being, not as some monster, right? And that's what we see here with Serena, is a very beautiful soul that was turned against her will into a vampire, and she wants to go back to being human again. And that's what the whole thing is all about. So if you choose the ending where you're the last Lord, small l, not capital L, and she's human, or you're not, or you leave her a vampire, or whatever you choose to do there, if the both of you are not human, you're not getting the true ending of the story. Because that's what she's chasing. That's what she's after. She's not looking for marriage and having kids and settling down. She's after her humanity. That's what it's all about. And you being a vampire and her being human contradicts each other. You have to be human. She has to be human in order to have the true ending. Otherwise, you break the whole role play of the character. And that's why you shouldn't marry her. Because you're breaking the role play of the character. You're breaking the whole context of what she stands for. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. God bless you, and have a great day.